Howdy mates, today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, and right now I'm actually visiting a very popular site near the town of Greenville, Ohio. This is known as the Bears Mill, and this is essentially the concrete dam that is built here. Essentially, it helps reduce the amount of water that comes through here. That tells you a bit about the overlook. You guys are more than welcome to pause the video if you so desire. But this place has a long history, considering that it was built way back in the mid 1800s. This was basically a flour type of mill. And in a way, not too long ago when I visited Clifton Mill, this mill is a bit similar. However, the Bears Mill is a bit smaller. And you may be wondering, where does the Bears Mill get its name? Well, as it turns out, one of the first owners of the mill was by the name of Gabriel Bear. He was like one of the very first owners of the mill itself. And actually over the past, you could say within the past 150 to 175 years, the mill has changed many hands in terms of who owns the mill. But now, it's basically its own non-profit organization known as Friends of the Bears Mill. And what's neat about the mill is it's still active. I mean, I'm not sure what they're doing now despite COVID going on. But normally, sometimes during the weekends, they used to provide basically tours of the whole mill making process. And I've been wanting to do a video inside the building, but it's still restricted. You still can't go in there. So then, to my right here, this is the mill race. What's fascinating about this mill race is way back in the 1800s, this was actually mostly dug up by children. And fascinating enough is during that time, for a whole day's worth of labor, they were only paid a dime. Crazy to think about, isn't it? That's how much they earned. And that was it. That was all they got out of it. It's wild. But essentially, this was constructed so that water could pass through here and feed the turbines. And you may be wondering, first, does this mill have a water wheel? Well, they do not. Instead, they actually have turbines that are underneath the mill. And what's fascinating about these turbines too is they help with the operation of the milling in the building and the electricity. And this is where it gets really interesting. The electricity that they use is DC as opposed to AC. Sorry, I'm not back in black. Little funny reference. But DC also stands for direct current. And that form of electricity is hardly used anymore. It's only used at certain places. But considering that this mill is very old, it still uses DC. But yeah, so the building, the exterior itself, is actually built out of black walnut, which is actually considered to be a very durable wood to build with. And I wanted to point something else out too. What I found fascinating as I was walking by, these trees right across here, those are bald cypress. And bald cypress, as it turns out, they actually thrive in marsh/swamp communities, even in the state of Florida. So it's quite surprising how even those can be found all the way up in Ohio. I don't know, that's just so remarkable to me. I'll try to show you guys down here. Yep, their turbines are right beneath here. And yeah, essentially this is a form of hydroelectricity. So in a way, it's quite sustainable. It's clean energy. They're not using other resources such as oil. And I wanted to point something else out too. Let's see. Yeah, okay, here we go. So right up here, this is known as a burrstone. And the rock that makes up the burrstone, it was commonly found in certain regions of France. So way back in the day, from some of the first owners of the mill, they would actually have to travel all the way to France. And usually that whole trip, because you figure back then, they didn't have airplanes at all. So the whole trip probably would have taken at least 2 years or so. That's a long time just to get a particular resource. But these bursts were commonly used, or they're still used here to this day. They're used for grinding, like, corn, for instance, to get that flour. But yeah, it tells you up here too. It's also known as burr stone ground. But yeah, essentially the burr stones relied on friction, and thus it was able to grind the product. But yeah, I wish this place was open. Well, actually, maybe it is open. Oh wait, okay, it's only Thursday through Saturday and Sunday. That's it. Okay. I'll have to make sure that I come here another day when it's actually open. Because I think, for those of you who ever want to travel to this area, this is a very popular spot in Darke County. But yep, there's the front of the building for you. And what was neat was any of the product that came in from farms, they used to have to so people on the 3rd floor, they would use a rope, as you can see, and they would literally have to lift up the product. And then essentially the whole process of the milling trickles down all the way to the 1st floor. But I think the good news is, I believe this mill is now associated with the Darke County Parks, so this will eventually become under ownership of them. So, quite neat. So, thought I would share that with you guys. Hope you learned something about the Bears Mill. Quite a unique attraction here. Definitely recommended for those of you who haven't been in this area. So, alright. Hope all of you enjoy your day. And Journey on a Journey is out. Take care, folks.